Meinen Freunden, wie geht's? Bewegung, on the move, all power to the people. Brothers, sisters, comrades. We continue to be inspired by her spirit, her sterling resistance, and her struggle against the forces of conformity and repression. I'm delighted to share some thoughts and memories with you about the experiences and lessons from the Black Panther Party. For those who wish to study it more in depth, I recommend We Want Freedom, my book on the party. The party was primarily a youth organization. Its average age was about 19, and many of its leaders were in their early 20s. What that means is that we were all still learning. Of course, that means that we were open to learning and hungry for knowledge, quite literally, from all around the world. We read about Marx, Mao, Guevara, Nkrumah, and struggles now long forgotten. We tried to take what was useful from all of them. That gave us far more flexibility than many other formations that featured a fully formed and essentially closed ideological framework. They were often unable to adapt to new realities and were like tall, rigid trees in the storm. Those that couldn't bend were often snapped. The party, although of course it did not achieve its revolutionary ideals, did last longer than most formations, and many of its ex-personnel continued to be active in many realms of radical and socially transformative politics. Clearly, too much rigidity is not a good thing, nor, for that matter, is too much flexibility. That said, in all honesty, we must state the obverse. The party essentially exempted its founder, Huey P. Newton, from all rules. And as a Nietzschean, in my opinion, this was, to say the least, problematic. For as a Nietzschean, he felt unbound by bourgeois morality. He therefore behaved in ways that had significant and detrimental effects on the organization, and beyond that, the movement itself. Rosa, like Huey, was a true intellectual. In her letters, and of course her articles, we find not just a first-class mind, but a tremendous heart. She's always studying, thinking, feeling, and growing, even while in the state's dungeons. Let me please use this excerpt from her letter from Breslau in Silesia. She writes of war, its ugliness, and its potential to transform into something infinitely better. She writes, "How I deplore the loss of all these months and years in which we might have had so many joyful hours together, notwithstanding all the horrors that are going on throughout the world. Do you know, Sanichka," she's writing to Karl Liebknecht's wife, Sonia, "the longer it lasts, and the more the infamy and monstrosity of the daily happenings surpasses all bounds, the more tranquil and more confident becomes my personal outlook. I say to myself that it is absurd to apply moral standards to the great elemental forces that manifest themselves in a hurricane, a flood, or an eclipse of the sun. We have to accept them simply as data for investigation, as subjects of study." This way of thinking, an open mind, allowed her to see, sense, and perceive beyond many of her colleagues, and also gave her the raw material from which to make the great strides she did in her theory, no matter where she was, in place or time. We all must learn from her and from all of the past behind us, successes and errors, so that we can grow in our practice and expand the reach, breadth, and scope of the movement. She was a remarkable teacher, just as Huey was, and Eldridge was, and D.C. was, and all the older brothers and sisters who gave their energies to the Black Liberation Movement. I thank you all for your time and attention here at the Rosa Luxemburg Conference. On the move, long live John Africa, thanks to you all. Aus die Todesstrafe, hier spricht Mumia, Abu Jamal.